Good evening, everyone. And today we are going to start our third lecture of electrostats. And I'll continue with the question which we have given in earlier class. So first we'll solve that question and then we'll move on. So the question was something like this. We were given a support. We were given a support, and after that, what we were given? We were having uh, two charges suspended with the help of string from this support, and those were having equal lengths, but masses were different. So masses were different about mass. Let us say it was m1 and this was m2. M1 m2 masses were given, and what we were to find out, and this was theta 1 and this was theta 2. Now it was having charge q1 and it was having charge q2. So what we have to find out, we have to find out that if we vary m1 and m2, if m1 is greater than m2, then what will be which one will be greater, theta 1 or theta 2, and similarly for q1 and q2 also. So let us first try to solve it. So this was the question, and we were having a column matching, left column was there and right column was there. So if we understand the concept, then easily we can match. First we will solve this equation and then we will match the column. So question was like this: two unequal charges having masses m1 and m2 and having charges q1 and q2 were suspended with light strings from the support, and we had to find out what will be the dependency of theta on masses m1 and m2 and q1 and q2. So for that, if we solve it, then we can easily see on this m1 one force will be there in this direction. Okay, and similarly for on this m2 also force will be in this direction, and that force, let us name that F, and that is what electrostatic force. And similarly here we will have force which will be equal to what, which will be equal to m1g. Okay, and here also we will be having force which will be equal to m2g. So it will be m1g, here it will be m2g. Now we can easily see here this angle will be theta 1 and this angle will be theta 2. Okay, so what we can write, we can write easily that in the first case and second case you can see tan theta 1 will be equal to f divided by m1g, and similarly tan theta 2 will be equal to f divided by m2g. Now as we can see this, how I can write this, because when if I draw the free body diagram, then I'll just solve it here. If I draw the free body diagram, then I can easily see. Okay, so if I draw the free body diagram, then in this direction it will be F, and in this direction it will be what, it will be M1G, and once again here I will get what, T. So if I solve it, and I can easily see, if this is T, this is T, this is F, and this is M1G. When I try to solve it, then I can easily see this angle will be theta 1. So it will be T cos theta 1, and this will be T sin theta 1. And if I balance it, it would look something like this. It would look like this: T sin theta 1 will be equal to F, and T cos theta 1 will be equal to M1G. And using these equations, we can write tan theta 1 is equal to F divided by M1G. Okay, and similarly we can write for tan theta 2 also. Now after that, this is for tan theta 1, and then tan theta 2 it will be F by M1G and F by M2G. Now if I divide these two equations, this is 1, this is 2. If I divide these two equations, then what I will get? Then I will get tan theta 1 divided by tan theta 2 is equal to m2 by m1. You can easily see. So Now, important thing is that if we observe this, we try to observe this relation, then we can easily see that this is coming out to be independent of, now this relation is coming out to be independent of magnitude of charges. Now, this is very much important because this is coming out to be independent of magnitude of charges. So what I can do, I can easily understand now comparing this, it doesn't depend on Q1 and Q2. It doesn't matter if Q1 is greater or Q2 is greater or both are equal. What matters? It only matters about mass. If mass is greater, then you can easily see theta will be lesser. By this relation, we can easily see. So finally, what we are concluding? We are concluding if M2 is greater than M1, then I can easily get theta 1 will be greater than theta 2. Okay, and if m2 is less than m1, then I will get what, theta 1 will be less than theta 2, and if both are equal, m2 is equal to m1, then I will get theta 1 is equal to theta 2. So these are the relations I am getting. So if we go on to the previous problem and try to solve that problem, then what we will observe, we will observe that if we, okay, now we are trying to match the column, which column we had created. So let us make the columns first. Okay, and it will be something like that. Okay, here let us say this is the left and this was the right column, and here also it was the left and this was the right column, then we'll match it. So when you see the problem which we are discussing, so A part will be matched with the A, B, C, and here D, E, and okay, D, E, F. It was like this. So when you see in the case A, we will be able to match with Q, and in the case B, we will be able to match R, and in C, we will match with P, and similarly in D, will match with Q, and E will match with R, and F will match with P, and so on. Okay, and for GHI also I'm writing here, for GHI, GH and I, G will match with Q, and H will match with R, and I will match with P. So these are the this is what I am discussing here. This is from the last lectures question which we are solving. Okay, so the concept here, what we have to remember, the concept here is that uh, hmm, that if m2 is greater than m1, then theta 1 is greater than m2, and it is inversely proportional. Why it is inversely proportional? Because we have solved like this and then we have got this result, and this result is coming out to be independent of magnitude of charges. This is important fact. So we can easily, without considering the charge, only by observing mass, we can compare theta. So I hope everyone is clear with it. So now let's move on. So the next part, now we are moving on to one more question we will do, and then we'll move on to electric field. Okay, one more example we'll do. Now this example, yes, so I'll tell you what this example is. In this example or question, a pentagon is given. What is given? We are given a pentagon. Now in this pentagon is what? It is regular pentagon. Okay, so it is regular pentagon, and in this pentagon, Q charge is placed at each vertices, and only one vertex is left. Now four charges are placed here at four corners. At four corners, we have to find out the net force on the charge which is placed at the center. Now how we will do it? For solving this type of problem, what we will do, first of all, and try to understand, we are having a pentagon, and let us name all of these vertices A, B, C, D, and E. Now, as you can see, all five of out of five vertices, only one is vacant. So, whenever let us say we are placing a charge small q at O, okay. So, what will happen? The force will be like this. So, here I can see force at O due to A, and similarly force at O due to B, and force at O due to C, and force at O due to D, and force at O due to E. Now, why? First of all, let us assume what we have to assume. Let us assume charge is also present at E. Charge is also present at E. Then, if this is the case, then this net force must be zero, because in 11th class what we have studied, we studied that at center, if equal forces are at equal angle, so in this case you can see the forces will be something like this, and equal and at equal angle, okay. So the net force must be equal to zero. This is what I'm telling you. Now this is not there, so what? But we have to find out the force. So due to these four, the sum of these four forces we have to find out, because this is not there. This I have only imagined. Okay, so the net of these four will be like this: FOA plus FOB plus FOC plus FOD. This will be minus of FOE. So we can easily see we don't have to find out all these four and then sum them up. We can only find out this imaginary force, and just negative of that will be our answer. So you can see, first of all, the direction of this force would have been, this is the force on O due to E. So this direction will would have been like this, FOE. And if you observe, let us say this all these is given A. This is regular pentagon is given. So this is A, and A. This is given. Okay. So this FOE, the magnitude of it will be KQQ divided by A square. Okay. Now this is coming out to be the force, but our answer will be what? Negative of FOE, as we can see. So I can write minus KQQ divided by A square. This is our answer. What is F net, which we have to find out? This is our answer. Once again, I am repeating. See, in any such type of question in which n-sided regular polygon is given, and out of that n side, n vertices, one, charge at one vertex is missing, then the net force will be equal to the force due to that one charge and negative of that force. Why is that? Because if charges would have been present at all the vertices, then I can easily see that the net force will be zero. But this is not the case. That is why here only one is missing. So the net of all other forces will be equal to negative of that force. So this concept we have to apply. We don't have to do it every time. We can easily understand it will be only due to the force will be only due to a single charge, but just negative of that. So I hope everyone is clear with it. Okay. So now moving on. Now we are going to discuss electric field. So let's first try to understand what electric field is. Okay. So electric field, as we all know, electric field is what? Electric field is force per unit charge. See, this concept is developed so that we are able to understand that force in any place, and we can define it like this: electric field intensity. This is what we are going to study. So in this you can see electric field will be equal to F, that F net that is being felt, divided by Q naught, and limit. Q naught tends to 0. This is our formula for electric field. Okay, this is what we are going to use. This is the definition which is used to define electric field. Now, what are all the terms in it? Here we can see this Q naught is what? This is test charge. Always remember this is test charge. Actually, what happens when we try to observe or study this, then let us say Q charge is here and this is source charge. Now, electric field of this is to be measured. Then what we will do? We will bring a Q naught that will be test charge. Now, always remember test charge must be very small. Isko small, it should be very small because we don't want it to disturb the system. Because what is the job of this Q naught? The job of this Q naught is only measuring the electric field. We don't want this Q naught to disturb the existing system. So this Q naught should be so small so that whenever we bring it, then this Q will not get disturbed, which is the source charge for which we have to calculate the electric field. Okay, everyone. So now what we are trying to say, this is the formula which we will apply. Electric field will be equal to limit Q naught tends to 0. That means it will be very small, and F divided by Q naught. And also if an external electric field is given, then we can write, and we are bringing a Q charge in electric field, then we can write force on that Q charge will be equal to QE. This is the main purpose. For that we have defined this electric field, so that we can easily calculate the electric field whenever we have to we can easily calculate the force whenever electric field at a particular region or point is given. Okay, so now let us first see electric field due to a point charge. Now electric field due to a point charge. Okay, so it will look something like this. Let us say a point A is there, and due to this I have to find electric field at a point P. Okay, so it will be something like this electric field. Okay, because the force on this point whenever I bring the unit or test charge will be in this direction, so electric field also will be in this direction. Okay, just one more thing I forgot here. The unit of electric field, as you can easily see, it will be what? Force upon charge, so it will be Newton per coulomb. So unit of electric field will be Newton per coulomb or volt per meter. Remember this. In the further sections of this chapter it will be very useful, and similarly we can calculate the dimension also. Okay, so here we were what we were doing, electric field due to a point charge. This is the source charge due to which we have to find the electric field, and this is the point P at which we have to find the electric field. So okay, so let's A, what is this? It is location of source charge due to which we have to find electric field Q. And what is P? It is the point at which we have to find electric field. We have to find electric field. Okay, and so here we will put the test charge. Location of test charge also will be the same. It is also location of test charge, because we bring test charge where we have to calculate the electric field. So now we can easily write that electric field vector will be equal to F divided by Q naught, and the value of that will be K Q Q, because here capital Q charge is there and here small q that we are bringing, divided by, this is small k, always remember, and divided by Q naught and R square, and also R cap. What does R cap show? R cap here is what? R cap here is vector. Which vector? this r vector will be in direction of AP vector. See, this vector will be r vector, that is AP vector. So r cap, you can easily see the direction of force, electric field and AP vector are same. So I can write here r vector. Okay. So after solving it, what I will get? Finally, I am getting k q divided by, at the place r vector I can write AP vector, so I can easily understand it. I can write it AP cap divided by mod, this q naught and q naught will get cancelled. Okay, so here it will only be remaining r square, so AP vector and square of that. So this is our final electric field which we have to remember. Okay, so this is what electric field due to a point charge. It is very simple. Here always try to understand what is, this is what, this is AP cap. If you remember it from 11th class, what is AP cap or any R cap or any vector like that, that is a direction vector or unit vector pointing in that direction. So here we have written the magnitude and then that unit vector which is in that direction. Okay, so this is all about what electric field due to a point charge. I hope everyone understood it. Okay, so now applying this concept. Okay, so now moving on. Now we will solve a question based on that concept, electric field due to a point charge. Okay. Question goes like this. See, we are given like this is x-axis and then this is y-axis, and we are given a point. The location of that point is what? This is P, that is 3 and 4. Okay, so basically this is how much this distance will be equal to this distance, and this distance I'm writing this distance will be equal to 3 meter. This is what? 4 meter, and this point is what? O, and we are placing charge here at every point. What are the values of that charge? And also the name of this is O, this is C, and this is B. Okay, so at this B we are having 9 nano coulomb, and at the place C we are having how much? 16 nano coulomb. Okay, at the place O we are having 125 nano coulomb. So these are the charges which are present. Now what we have to find out? We have to find out the electric field at point P due to, find electric field at point P due to charges placed at B, O and C. Okay everyone, so we will try to solve it. So see, we'll use the vector form. First of all, till now what we have studied, that electric field due to any point charge will look something like this: K, Q. Now AP vector we have defined earlier, which is the unit vector from point where source charge is present to the point where test charge is present. So AP vector divided by, here it was AP mod square. Now remember, if you remember from 11th class, A cap I can write as A vector divided by mod A vector. So similarly I can write AP vector, AP cap, sorry, AP cap will be equal to how much? AP cap will be equal to AP vector divided by mod AP. So applying the same concept here, I can easily write this K, it will be KQ AP vector divided by mod AP cube. So this is the basic formula which will be applying. What is this? This is electric field due to a point. So this is what we are going to apply. Now here we are having 3 charges, so we have to apply it 3 times. So this is, we are going to apply. Let's apply. So we can easily see electric field at P point will be equal to the sum of all the fields vectorially. So I can write it easily. You can see here k, that is a constant, and q. Now q I will take 9 nanocoulomb. Okay, divided by, it will be vector. Now see, from this to this point the vector will go like this. It will be this vector. Okay, and this vector, it will be bp vector. So in this case I will write bp vector, because once again I am reminding you what is AP vector. It is the vector from the point where due to which we have to calculate the field to the point where we have to calculate the field. So A, source charge or test charge, you can remember. In this AP vector, A is at the source charge, P is at the test charge. So here we have to find the electric field at P. So at the point P will be test charge, and at the point B here is source charge. Similarly, just extrapolating that concept, here we will take BP vector, and BP vector mod, and here it will be BP vector. Okay, and similarly here it will be 125 nanocoulomb. Okay, divided by mod OP vector cube, and here OP vector. Okay everyone, so plus, due to third, OP is what? OP, you can see here I am applying. So what I am doing, I am applying the electric field due to O at P. So I will have to use OP vector, and the charge is given there. It is how much? It is 125 nanocoulomb. So in the last part we'll apply field due to C at P. So the vector will go like this. It will be like this, as you can easily see. So in this case when we'll apply, so it will be how much? 16 nanocoulomb divided by mod CP vector cube and CP vector. Now what we have to do, we have to just solve it. So let us try to solve it. It will be something like this: 9 into 10 raised to power 9, that constant, and in each of the term you see nano, so I'll take it common. So it will be 10 raised to power minus 9, taking common, and inside I will get how much? 9 into, now BP vector, you can easily see BP, the value of BP vector will be equal to, BP vector you can easily see, this will be equal to 3 I cap. Now OP vector you can easily see, it will be equal to how much? 3 I cap plus 4 J cap. Now CP vector you can easily see, it will be how much? It will be 4 J cap. Okay, so we have to put those values at here. So let's put it. So 9 into, it will be 3 I cap. Okay, and divided by, it will be 3 cube, because mod of that is 3. And similarly here 125 multiplied by 3 I cap plus 4 J cap, and divided by how much? 5 cube. And the last term, it will be 16 into 4 J cap divided by 4 cube. It will be like this. So now let's solve it. 10 raised to power 10, 10 raised to power n, and 10 raised to power, and these will be getting cancelled. Now 9 into 3 and 3 cube, this will again will getting cancelled. Now 5 cube and 125, this will again will be getting cancelled. Now 16 into 4 and 4 cube, this will again will be getting cancelled. So finally what we are getting? We are getting simply, it is something like these are getting cancelled, and then finally we are getting 9 in bracket, we are getting I cap plus 3 I cap plus 4 J cap, and here plus J cap. Okay, so finally we are getting 9, and this is 4 I cap plus 5 J cap. Okay, so the final result is coming out to be EP vector is equal to 36 I cap plus 45 J cap, and whenever I write with the unit, it will be something like Newton per Coulomb. Okay, so this is our final answer. This is our final answer. EP is coming out to be this much. Now if someone asks about the magnitude, then magnitude also we can solve. Magnitude easily we can solve from here. It will come out to be EP vector magnitude. This will be, whenever you will solve it, it will be root 36 square plus root 45 square, and you will solve it. Now 9 you can take out, and it will be looking like this: 16 plus 25, and this is 9 into root 41 Newton by coulomb. Okay, everyone. So this is our final answer. So in vector form it is like this, and in scalar form it is how much? It is 9 root 41. This is in scalar form, and in vector form it is this much. So in this case, what we have applied, you can tell it, we have applied the principle of superposition. The principle of superposition is nothing that you would have studied. What is principle of superposition? It says that the net force or field at a point will be vector sum of all the individual force or field. So here also we have applied the same concept. We have to find out the net electric field at point P. So for that, what we have done, we have first calculated the field at point P due to individual charges, and then add them up vectorially. So in this step, what we are doing, we are writing individually and then adding them vectorially. We have to find take care of the vector notations, and vectorially we have to solve, because force or field is not a scalar quantity, it is a vector quantity. So it is just about writing it and then solving it. I hope everyone is clear. So now moving on, let's clear this. So this was the simple concept applied due to electric field due to a point charge. Now what we will do, we will try to understand how many charge configuration are there due to which we have to find electric field, and then accordingly we will solve for electric field for them. Okay, so what we are doing now, what are the various charge configuration for which electric field has to be determined? In electrostatics there are different cases, so we will study them each one by one. So here what we will do, okay, so we are going to solve it. First of all, first case what we will do, which we have already covered, field due to a point charge, we have covered this. Now the second, we will take field due to a finite charge, finite line charge. Okay, now similarly field due to, we will take infinite line charge, then we will take, and the fourth one we will take field due to arc at its center. Okay, now then what we will do, field due to ring at its axis. Now the sixth case, what we will do, field due to disk at its axis. Okay, now then the seventh case, what we will do, field due to infinite plane charge, and in the eighth case we will do to field due to hollow sphere, and this is also called as spherical shell. Okay, and now in the ninth case, what we will do, we will do field due to solid sphere. In the 10th case, what we will do, we will do field due to hollow cylinder, and in the 11th case, what we will do, field due to solid cylinder. Okay, so this will be, hollow cylinder is also called as cylindrical shell, so these are the cases which we will do one by one, slowly. So till now what we have done, we have done electric field due to point charge. Now we will move on to electric field due to finite line charge. Okay, so everyone, I hope you understood what we are going to do, and let's start it. So before that, first we will try to understand different types of charge densities. Okay, so different type of charge densities. For that, what we will do, charge densities. So different type of charge densities we have to solve, understand, because using that only we can understand how all these things will be solved. All these different variations we will be able to solve using these only. So first we will take linear charge density. Okay, everyone. Now linear charge density is what? It is the symbol used is lambda, and it is as simple as that. Whenever a charge is distributed on an object that is a one dimensional object, then we will use this, and this lambda will be equal to q by l, and this will be equal to dq divided by dl whenever a small charge is there, and we can write from here dq is equal to lambda dl. Okay, everyone, so this is what we have to remember, dq is equal to lambda dl. Okay, so now moving on, and one more thing, the unit of lambda, as you can see, unit of lambda will be equal to coulomb per meter. So this we have to remember. Now these concepts will be applied in 1D objects. We will apply this whenever charge is distributed on an 1D object, then we will apply these concepts. Now if 2D object is there, then what we will do, surface charge density concept we will apply. Surface charge density. Okay, everyone. So for this concept, what we will do, similarly here the symbol is what, sigma symbol is used, and sigma is what, q divided by area, and it is also written as dq divided by dA, and dq will be equal to what, sigma dA. Okay, now using this, we can easily solve this. Now these will this will be applied in 2D objects whenever just like charge is distributed on a disk or anything, any plane like that, then we'll apply this concept. Whenever charge was distributing on a 1D object like wire or arc or like that, then we will apply linear charge density, otherwise this surface charge density. Now the third one is what, third one is our volume charge density, volume charge density. So it will be like this. Also the unit of sigma, as you can see, it will be coulomb per meter square because it is charge per area, and in this case here we will define, we will use symbol rho, and it will be something like rho will be equal to q divided by volume, or dq divided by dv, and dq, I can easily, one second. It will be dq by dv, and dq again is like rho dv. Okay, so this is what we have to remember, we will use in different formulas. Okay, now after that we are having what, unit, its unit will be equal to how much, rho, unit of rho will be equal to, as simple as that, it will be, it is what is it, it is a charge upon volume, so the unit will be something like coulomb divided by meter cube. So this is all we have to remember to solve the different various configuration for which we have to calculate the electric field. We have to use the charge density according to the case given. If it is 1D, then I'll use lambda. Otherwise, if it is 2D, then uh, sigma. If it is 3D, then I'll use rho. So, okay. So 3D object, just like a sphere, solid sphere, it should be solid sphere. If it is a hollow sphere, then it will be something like area. So in that case, I'll use sigma. If it is solid sphere, then I'll use rho. It will be like this. So I hope you understood this. Now moving on. So now let's move on to our second case, that was the electric field due to infinite, finite line charge. It was our case. We had to find out the electric field due to finite line charge. Okay, everyone. Okay. So what we have to find out? We have to find out, in this case, electric field due to finite line charge. Okay, everyone. So let's find out. So before that, it will look something like this. A line is given, and then after that line, let us say at a perpendicular distance, some perpendicular distance, at a, we have to find out. Now this distance is a, and this point here is given p, and here we are having uniformly distributed charge, that is, and having some density lambda. Okay, so whenever I have to find out, and also the upper end of wire like this and the lower end of wire like this, these are subtending some angle, and this angle is alpha. Now try to understand the sense here. The for measuring alpha I am taking in clockwise sense. Okay, and for measuring beta I am taking anti-clockwise sense. Okay. Okay, so now you can see the distance here, this particular distance from this wire to this point P. This is how much? This is A. Okay, so once again I'm reminding what are all the variables here. Now A is what? Perpendicular distance from wire. Okay, now what is lambda? That is linear charge density. Linear charge density. Now what is alpha? It is angle subtended by upper end of wire. Upper end of wire at P, and similarly beta, it is what? Angle subtended by lower end. Okay, now as you can see, for this how we will apply the concept. Now here the charge is distributed on the whole wire, and it is not at a point, so that we can easily write the formula that kqr cap or kq ap cap divided by ap vector mod square. Here we cannot do that. What we will do, we will first have to take an element. Okay, so let us draw that element. Now what element I am taking? The, let us say, small element I am taking here, and this is this example. This element I am zooming in here so that we can easily understand, and this element is making how much angle at P, and also this is what? Theta. Okay, this is how much? This is theta, and this is d theta, and this element I am naming it as A. Here it was a some point A. This element I am taking, cutting it out, and this coordinate, this much. This is how much? This is y. This is how much? Y. And how much is this? This is dy, obviously. So it is like something like this. This is again A, and this is y. One more thing. Here I am defining the vector as, this is, let us say, I cap in this direction. In this direction I am having I cap vector. Okay, and in other direction I am having j cap vector. So this is I cap vector, this is j cap vector. Okay, x axis and y axis, like that only. Okay, so this element I have taken here. So first of all, try to understand, if I am writing the electric field only due to this element at this point P, so I hope you will be able to understand it will be in something in direction like this. Okay, and this I am naming it as DEP. Okay, so the magnitude of that DEP will be something like this. DEP vector will be equal to K dq, just like kq divided by mod ap square. So at the place of q we are using dq. That is because total charge distributed here is q, but this element will be having how much? Dq charge. So that dq charge of course will be equal to how much? Lambda and dy, because the length here is what? Dy. And if you remember from the our previous discussion, that in the case of linear charge density I can write dq is equal to lambda dl. So similarly dq is equal to lambda dy I am writing. Okay, so d here is what? K dq, and divided by distance. The distance here you can see, this is the point due to which we have to find the electric field, and this is the point at which we are finding the electric field. So once again here it will be a p vector cube and here AP vector. I hope all of you would have understood this step. Once again I am repeating, just like the case for the point charge, we were writing that the electric field is equal to KQ divided by AP cube vector mod and multiplied by AP cap. It is similar, just like similar to that only, just like that only at the place of q we are writing dq, because the point or the source charge due to which we are finding the electric field only have charge, very small charge, that is dq, and the point p is the point at which we are finding the electric field. So this is what we have written, dep. Now let us try to solve it. So we can write this as dep vector. Now dep vector is how much? This is k, small k. Now dq, you can easily understand this is lambda dy. Now here what I'll write, you have to understand it very clearly. Okay. See, as you can see, this vector, if I draw all the direction and everything, this vector will be my AP vector because this point is A and this point is P. Okay, everyone. So this is my AP vector, and this is how much? This is A vector. I can write this as AI cap. And also if you can see this vector, I can write minus y I cap. So I can see from here AP vector is how much? It is a I cap minus y j cap. Sum of these two, triangle law. These two vector, sum of these two will be AP vector, and here y minus y j cap. Okay. Here what I am writing? Here I am trying to write this vector is, once again I am repeating, minus y j cap vector. Why? Because see, this is just opposite of y and in the downward direction, and in the upward and downward we have defined j cap. So downward, that is why y minus y j cap. So this is minus y j cap and this is a I cap, and sum of these two you can easily see will be our AP vector, which I have to find out to write down the electric field due to the small element which is at A, due to which we have to find the electric field at P. So for that I have to find out AP vector and AP cube. Similar, consequently I have to solve. So AP vector I'm trying to write. Once again I'm repeating, AP vector will be something like this, and I can easily see it will be sum of these two vector. This vector will be minus y I cap, minus y j cap, sorry, and this will be a I cap. So I can write it as a I cap minus I j cap. So here I'll write a I cap minus y j cap. It is very much important stuff. You should remember, you should understand how we are writing this. Okay. And whenever it is confirmed, then we can easily write what we have to do here, mod of the cube. Now the mod of this, mod of AP, you can see mod of AP will be equal to root a square plus y square, or a square plus y square की power half, a square y plus y square raised to power half, and here it is cube. So I can easily write here a square plus y square raised to power half and cube, so it will be 3 by 2. It will be something like this. Okay, now we have to solve this integration. Now it is looking very dangerous, it is looking very terrifying how to solve this complex integration. Don't worry, we'll solve it step by step and we'll try to understand how we are solving it. So let's try. Okay, here we can see these, what are the variables. See, lambda is not a variable, it is a constant. K is constant once again. Now y is a variable. Now a is also constant. Now how we check what is variable and what is constant? See, I have only written the electric field due to this part. Whenever I'll move this to solve the for the complete part, I'll move this element like this. Just like the cursor you can see, I'll move like this. Whenever I'll move like this, you can easily see A will not be changing, but y coordinate will be changing. Yes. And also, so how to solve this, and dy is like written here. So you can see here once again that if you try to observe this triangle is something like this. Now I am writing in scalar form. This is y, this is a, and this is theta. Then you can easily see the y is equal to a tan theta. So whenever we are confirm this y is equal to a tan theta, so y is equal to a tan theta, then I can write, because whenever I want to integrate it, I want to put the limits in the terms of alpha and beta. So for doing that, what I have to do, variable here is y, I have to convert that variable y into using some way into some theta, so that I can put the limits at alpha and beta, because alpha and beta are the characteristic of the wire here, so that I can apply the concept and find the electric field. Now I do not want to put the limits in terms of y, I want to put the limits in terms of angle, that is alpha and beta, which were given in the question. So I'm converting the limits and the variable here. So for that, y is equal to a tan theta, the relation is what I am having. Then I can write dy, differentiating this equation. If you remember that differentiation of tan theta is what? It is sec square theta. So it will be something a sec square theta into d theta. Okay, everyone. So this is dy is equal to a sec square theta into d theta. So if I write it, it will be something like this. EP, which I have to solve, for that EP vector will be equal to, now k lambda I can take common, and oh sorry, yes, now I'm writing for EP vector. So EP vector will be equal to k lambda, I'll take common because this is constant. Now at the place dy I'm writing a sec square theta d theta, and divided by, here I'll write a square plus a square tan square theta raised to power 3 by 2, and here I'll write what, a I cap minus y, at the place y I'll write a tan theta. So a I cap minus a tan theta j cap. It will look something like this. Limit still I am not putting. Just wait, and then I'll put the limit. Okay. So moving on. So I hope till here everyone is clear. Once again, you can see the basic foundation, the reason uh, for which I am doing like this, because I want to put the limits in terms of theta, not in terms of y. So that is why this small integral I am converting the variable y into theta, and also it will be easy to solve now. You can easily see. Okay, so here a square, if I take out common, then 1 plus tan square theta, if you remember in 10th class form, by 10th class formula, it will be sec square theta. So a square, if I take out, so a square raised to power 3 by 2 will be equal to a cube. Okay, try to listen carefully. A square I'll take out, so a square raised to power 3 by 2 will be equal to a cube, and here will be remaining with 1 plus tan square theta, that will be sec square theta. Now sec square theta's cube will be equal to sec cube theta. So basically in denominator what we are getting, we are getting a cube cos theta. So finally I am writing here k lambda divided by sorry, k lambda, and then integration here, and here also you can see, here I'll have a, I'll take it out common, so it will be a square sec square theta d theta divided by, once again I am repeating, a square, take it, I'll take it common, then a square raised to power 3 by 2, the common out will be a cube. A square raised to power 3 by 2 is equal to a cube, square and multiplied by 3 by cube, 3 by 2, so 2 into 3 by 2, 2 will get cancelled, and a cube I will get. And here I am having, if I have taken this a square common, then I will be having 1 plus tan square theta, that will be equal to sec square theta, and sec square theta raised to power 3 by 2, it will be sec cube theta. Now if I try to solve this, then I can easily see it will be something like this. This sec square theta and this will get cancelled, and sec theta will be remaining here, and sec theta 1 upon so cos theta, so cos theta will be up, and here this square, so once again a will be remaining here. So finally what I am getting, finally I am getting something like this. It will be something like this. What here we are also having I cap minus tan theta j cap. So finally I am having something like this, k lambda divided by a. Okay everyone, k lambda divided by a, and here I am having a, is I am taking common out, so sec theta it will be equal to cos theta d theta, and here I cap minus tan theta j cap. So observe this very carefully because it is a long derivation. I'll just move on forward. I'll remember this last relation. Okay. From this I'll move forward. So once again I'm repeating, this sec theta was remaining, so it is 1 upon cos theta. So cos theta will be in numerator, and cos theta a I have taken out. So here it is remaining what? Cos theta d theta, and here inside I cap minus tan theta j cap. I hope you would be clear with this. Okay. So now it is what? K lambda by a, and here cos theta d theta I cap minus tan theta j cap. So I'll just multiply it. So it will be something like cos theta d theta I cap minus, here again, cos theta into tan theta. Now cos theta into tan theta you can easily understand. Here I'll solve it. Cos theta into tan theta, it will be sin theta by divided by cos theta. This will be getting cancelled. So it will look something like this. Sin theta d theta j cap. Okay. Now for the limits, what you will we will see. For the limits, what we will do. So I hope you understood this. From we have come to this point. Okay. So the limit will go something like this: k lambda divided by a, and here in the limit I'll put. Now always remember very carefully, here this is alpha and this is beta. So for the time being, I am writing this. This is what anti-clockwise sense. I am writing this anti-clockwise sense as negative, and clockwise sense as positive. Now remember this. It is very important because later you have to remember this, because later we will apply this concept. Okay. So now let's solve. Hmm. Okay. So here I'll put, because from we are moving from minus beta to plus alpha. So here it will be minus beta to plus alpha, and here cos theta d theta I cap minus, here once again, minus beta to alpha sin theta d theta j cap. So whenever I'll solve this, the integration of cos theta will be equal to how much? Sin theta. So here I'll get sin theta, and in that I have to put minus beta to alpha and I cap, and minus, here I'll get the integration of sin theta will be equal to minus cos theta, so minus minus will become plus. So here I'll get cos theta minus beta to alpha j cap, and once again by the large bracket, and here I'll have k lambda by a. So if I solve this, finally I'll get k lambda by a. If I put the limits, then it will something like this: sine alpha minus sine of minus beta, and here I cap, and here I'll when I put the limit, it will be cos of alpha minus cos of minus beta and j cap, and here bracket close. So if I solve this, if you remember, then sine of minus theta is equal to minus sine theta, but cos of minus theta is equal to cos theta. So by using that, what I can do, I can write, it will be something like this. So, minus minus, this minus will come out because it is sine of minus theta is minus sine theta, and this will be plus. And here this cos theta, this minus will go away, vanish. So finally here I'll get k lambda by a, and this is our final relation: sine alpha plus sine beta I cap plus cos alpha minus cos beta j cap. This is the final result for which we have been working so hard. So this is what you have to remember at all times. What is this? It is the vector form of the net electric field due to a finite wire. I hope you can easily understand this. So this is the final result for which we have been solving this long derivation. So you can easily see here we are having the two electron components of electric field, one in the I cap direction and one in the j cap direction. And if you remember, the directions were something like this. This was the I cap direction and this was the j cap direction. So finally we are having electric field in this component in this direction and also in this direction, and this is the net result which we have to remember. Okay, I hope everyone is clear. Okay, so once again I'll repeat what we have learned just right now. We will learn it in two different ways. See how. So if we are given something like this, and it is having some charge, lambda charge density, then what we, and at point P we have to find the electric field. Okay, so if I cap and j cap is given like this, then no problem. And also these are the angles. Observe the arrow. We also always have to remember the arrow. We have driven it, we have derived it like this, that the alpha is in which sense? Clockwise sense, and beta is in anti-clockwise sense. If in question this sense changes, if at the place of clockwise we are getting anti-clockwise, then we have to put minus alpha. I'll show you an example and I'll tell you when this will happen. Okay, so I'm just telling you, if this is the case, then the result we have got at this P point, we will have electric field in this Ex, and this will be Ey. So if you don't if you hate those vectors form, then you can easily remember this Ex will be equal to k lambda divided by a, how much, sine alpha plus sine alpha beta. I hope this is the simpler form which you can remember. And similarly Ey will be equal to k lambda divided by a, and here it will be cos alpha minus cos beta. If you are getting frightened by that vector form, but you have to practice vector form also, because in difficult questions we have to take help of the vector. As we all know, mathematics is language of physics. If we are not thorough with the mathematics, then we'll not be able to solve advanced question in physics. So that is why we cannot avoid vector. But for the time being, if you are not so much comfortable, then you can go on to these formulas. These are, this is the in x direction, this is in y direction. So you can remember these formulas, and just make your life a little bit easy, rather than remembering those difficult formulas. Okay, so this is Ex and this is Ey. Okay, but one more thing I'll like to add here, that if the same question is given, but let us say this convention is not given. Now we are not given this convention. At this place, what we are given? We are given a different convention. Let us say, because it can be, it is not necessary it will be vertical. It can be sometimes at an angle, it can be sometimes horizontal. So we have to remember that concept comes in handy whenever we are having cases like that. So in that case, if it is not I cap j cap, then we can rename that r cap vector. R cap is what? Radially outward vector. And p cap vector, that is parallel vector. Because it is not necessary that in question it will be given like I cap and j cap, it can be different also. So in those cases you have to remember this, the formula in this way. This is the parallel vector. So r cap vector will be in this direction and p cap vector will be in this direction. You can easily see at this place, this will be in r cap, this is radially outward, and this is p cap, radially parallel vector. So in that case the formula will look something like this. This will be er vector, that is in r direction, k lambda by a, same formula, just we have to remember the sine beta. And here I can write r cap vector at the place I cap, and here it will be e p vector, that is parallel. Now it is not net. Okay, so there is a bit of confusion, so I'll just change the variables here. I'll write here it is E perpendicular radially outward, and this is E parallel vector. Okay, I hope it will be easy for you now. So it is k lambda by a divided by cos alpha minus cos beta, and this is p vector. So in this format also you can remember if you are not comfortable. And also this formula for this format will be useful whenever we are having this wire not in I cap and J cap direction, but in different direction, then we'll use these formulas. So this is the final result which all of us have to remember. So I hope you will be clear with this. Now questions on this we'll do in next class. Okay. So that's all for today. I hope you are solving a lot of questions to practice and the homework which I am giving to you. So please be thorough with that. And if any doubt comes, then please tell me. Okay, so we will just end it here.